everyone! I love making functional things out of clay, so I am going to show you today how to make this mug. Let's get started. You're going to start by rolling out a slab on some sort of canvas or mat, and we're going to start by putting our piece of clay right down the center and rolling it out from the center out. So give it little pushes. Make sure you're pushing down in little pushes. And then you're always going to flip turn. You want your slab to be even all the way through. I'm going to roll this out to about 1/4 inch thick. And I do have a template that I have already cut out. And my template that I'm using is at 11 inch by 4 inch, and that is going to be what I use to measure this and cut it out. So I'll be right back with that slab. Now this is looking pretty good. The best thing you can do for yourself is start with a good slab of clay and make sure it's nicely rolled evenly. So 1/4 inch is actually going to be a pretty thick rim on your mug, so you want to make sure that you're not too thick and you can't have it super paper thin or else it won't stand up. Okay, so I'm going to start out with this. When I cut my template, make sure you are straight up and down with your cut. I'm using a needle tool. And I do like to cut it in the center because then that'll give you a little more even piece. Now this extra we're going to use for the bottom of our mug, but I do want it a little thicker than a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to ball up some of this. But this, let's check this out. Okay, we're going to use that. And then I'm going to use a little bit thicker piece for the bottom, the circle of the mug. We are going to have another template that is the bottom of the mug, and I cut out a circle that's 3 inches. You could do 3 or 4 inches, however you want to do that. So I balled up that extra clay, and I'm just going to press it really good in my hands. I don't want to have any bubbles in this. And just make it flat with your hands first. Palm over palm, just kind of flatten it out a little bit. You're going to want this a little thicker on the bottom because we're going to do something where we kind of carve into the edge of the bottom just slightly so that when you put it down, it has an evenness to the bottom. So this can be a little thicker than 1/4 inch. So remember, you're going to flip turn when you roll out a slab. There you go, that's pretty good. This is gonna look pretty thick. And I'm gonna put my tracer on it. There we go. All right, so that is a lot thicker than my 1/4 inch on the side of the mug. But this is gonna be good because then we're gonna carve out a little bit on the bottom. Okay, so we're gonna put those to the side. Now let's re-roll some of that extra clay to try out some textures, patterns, and designs to go on the side of your mug. And I've got some tools that I just picked out that might have some interesting textures. I got some stamps, and I do have some string. I thought that like a little rope like that would actually work good, but I don't have much of that. A bag possibly, or any kind of fabric. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try to see what it looks like if I rolled some of this in there. Okay, if you can see that, that's kind of a neat texture that you could get. It's rather than it being so flat on the outside of your mug because it will have imperfections naturally because you are making it by hand. These stamps, of course, are going to work really nice. And you just press it in there. And then if you wanted to write something or whatever, I would write it on a piece of paper first, then write whatever I was writing on there. But you have a lot of different choices to make. You know, just very simple.
There's all kinds of things you can do, so have fun, practice, and try some different things for the outside of your mug.
I'm taking the round bottom and I'm just going to go around the edge of, just put a little bit of water around the edge of that circle. And you're going to score this up really good. So make sure that when you're scoring, it's not just little lines like that. Score really good so that this is not going to fall apart on you. And now I'm going to take the wall of the mug with my design facing outside. Right down at the bottom, I'm going to put some water. I can use my brush. Put some water down and score that up really good. Make sure you have some really good scoring there. Now I made some slip where I just put some old clay inside of a bowl and put some water on there. And we just want to have that really super wet clay where it's like a consistency of kind of like a milkshake. So I'm going to take some of that slip and I'll put it right down where I have that scoring. And I want to score back over that. So this is going to really help to seal it up. And remember, the ends here are going to get cut, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Now I'm going to rescore a little bit just to kind of push some of that into it. There we go. And all that mucky clay, that's all like glue, so we want to keep that right on the wall there. Okay, now you're going to put this around. And I'm going to put it right down. Make sure that is all scored up good. And I'm going to go right around and look at it straight up and down, just like the camera sees it. Okay. And you want to push, when you're pushing from the sides where this is not, is like basically from the opposite, and you're kind of pushing around the edge of the bottom and bringing it together. So you can see on the bottom that you're going to have a little seal there that you're going to have to make. So I'm kind of pushing just a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to use my needle tool to just cut right down, super straight as I can do. I'm going to cut the edge of this. And I like to leave a little extra, so I'm going to go and cut about right there and just go straight down. Okay. And I have a little extra, if you can see that. Okay. And I can start to put this together by scoring those edges. So I'm going to go a little bit less. It's always like you kind of say, you measure 3 times, cut once. So I'm going to take a little bit off. Okay. And then I'll go back. And I don't like to have like 2 pieces kind of butting right up against each other like that, because I think it gives it a really thin seal. You want to just overlap slightly. So what I have right there looks like that's going to work. Now I'm going to open that up slightly. And again, I want to put some water. And I'm going to put some slip. You can score up first and then put some slip on there. And you really want to make sure this is scored good. Put it right down, hold the wall up with your hand. You want this slip to kind of just mush right into there. All right, now I'm gonna go from the bottom, just push around the bottom of your cup, and you're going to just put this together. So I have just a small little overlap. And when I'm sealing it, I'll show you like this. When I'm sealing it, I'm going to sort of push one side to the other. And you got to be very careful. So I'm just kind of pushing a little bit. Be careful with it. All right, now that seal is good for now because I got to do the inside. All right, now I got another tool for you. I'm going to use either the bottom of my needle tool or something that has like a rounded edge to it. I think I'm going to use this and just put a little bit of water on it. And this is going to help me to kind of push the seal at the very bottom, like right around where you have that circle of the bottom of the cup where it meets the wall. So you want to seal that. You don't want to see any kind of line there. Seal that up. And I'm pushing just a small little bit because you don't want to have an indentation. It's better to have a flat bottom to your mug on the inside, especially if you're going to use it. And then I'm going to use my fingers to push against this wall. And I want to have my hand being the wall on the outside holding it so that it doesn't push out too much. So we want to get this sealed up. Okay, and as smooth as possible. So I do have a palette knife, and I think the palette knife works really well to kind of smooth things out. And I can push some of that extra clay over and then on the outside. Spend the time to get this so that you can barely tell, or you can't tell at all, where that seal was. Okay, now you're going to use a little more slip with the brush and make sure that this is not super wet. You're going to take a little bit of slip, and you're going to go on the inside and just kind of brush around so that you get a nice seal on the bottom. There's no holes. And it's as smooth as possible. I'm flipping it over on the bottom, just kind of make sure that this is all good, it's all together. And I am going to carve the bottom very slightly to make an indentation. Okay, so it's a very slight carve, like you'll see it on the bottom of regular mugs. You'll see it on the bottom. It's just so that it sets better on the table and it's not wobbling or anything. Okay, so we're going to make a little mark and kind of, I would say, like keep it somewhere even about with your pinky or something like that. You're going to take a loop tool that has a little edge to it like that. So it can be one of these rounded ones, and I actually prefer one of these rounded ones with a little edge like that. And then you're just going to lightly carve a little bit off. So make sure you're lightly carving down into it and you're not going too far. And this is why this is a little bit thicker than the wall of your mug. Okay, you can see that it's not carved out very much at all. All right, I'm going to use my wet paper towel just to kind of smooth this out a little bit. And while it's turned around, put your name on the bottom, use a pencil. Don't ever use a needle tool to draw with because you're cutting with a needle tool. You draw with a pencil. And those are the rules when you're working with clay. Now make sure that you've got a nice round circle, and we're going to continue by making the handle. I'm going to take this extra clay, and you want to make sure that that extra clay is really nice and soft and malleable. So I'm just kind of putting it together. Okay, take water in your fingers and just smooth that out a little bit, and then just see how this piece of clay will fit on your mug. Again, you don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin. All right, now for mine, I would like it to kind of curl up a little bit. Start there, and then maybe I'll curl it up like that a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it about right there. You don't want this to be sticking out so far from your mug, so you want to be careful about where you're putting it. I do like to put it in that spot where you sealed the part together. Okay, you don't have to though. And this part I'm going to curl. Okay, there's a fun kind of things that you can do with the handles. You know, you're going to do it however you want to do it. And there's my handle. Put on something like that. And now what I'm doing is just marking off with my needle tool where I'm going to score. So I have this area here and underneath, and then I've got this area here. And I'm going to put a little water there. Score it up super good. And I am going to score this part as well. Right. Wiggle it right in there. And same thing with the bottom, wiggle that right in there. Okay, and the last thing you really want to do is make sure that you have this molded to your hand. So hold on to it, give it like a good grip, and then you're going to kind of keep it that way. Okay, so we want to make sure that this is really smoothed right down. So you can use any sort of tool that you need to, like something that's round might even be better, to kind of push the clay onto itself. You use that extra slip that kind of squished out from there. Okay, so your last step, making sure that that's all sealed up, and make sure that your mug is cleaned up on the edges. You're wiping down anything that needs to be wiped down. Just clean it all up. And then when you're putting it down to dry, make sure that it is totally circular and your handle is shaped the way that you want it. You might want to stick something in there, paper towels that are rolled up or something like that, to keep the shape of that. If it's kind of droopy, so if it's not, then you're fine. I think it's all finished, so now we have to put it out to dry. Okay. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.